If you feel like time is your enemy and you are finding yourself struggling with the not enoughness of it, then this one is for you. So, in this video, we are going to discuss how small tweaks in how you view time can actually make all of the difference to optimize time and utilize it in your favor. So, if you've been enjoying my content, I invite you to like, comment, subscribe, all the things, and check out my Fear Chronicles podcast, which is False Evidence Appearing Real, which really complements all of the topics that we discuss here. So when I had my private practice, I was on the struggle bus with time. I really was. I really felt like it was always escaping me. I had this jam-packed calendar that I've told you about, and literally it was getting me nowhere fast. And it felt like I was just doing, and I had nothing to show for it, but I also just felt like I had no time to get things done, no time for myself, no time for my family. I just had no time. And that was my relationship with time for a very long time. So that to me was what I thought entrepreneurship was. I just thought, I figured this was just the way it was. And I just grinned and bared it for as long as possible. And that was my perception of time. And my spoiler alert for you is that it actually doesn't have to be that way. And there is a better way. So I invite you to take my 2-minute Are You the Bottleneck quiz to find out who or what is slowing down your progress. So I want you to reflect on this question for yourself. Actually, it's a couple. I want you to ask yourself, am I using my time efficiently? And when I think about time, what emotions do I feel? Like, what comes up in your body, right? How does your body react to time? And why do you think that is? Okay. I just added that because it's a good question. It's always good. Reflection is paramount in everything that we're doing and talking about. So how much time that we think that we have, well, is purely subjective, right? Time, as I mentioned before, is a man-made construct, right? And it was made for us to be able to, know what time to send our kids to school, when to show up to a dentist appointment. We all have the same amount of time, but how we view time and our relationship with time is subjective. It's our perception of it. That is what I mean. So how much time we think we have to get stuff done is what we're going to talk about. So I have her, and I tried to draw a clock. That's my clock. So we're going to first do some calculations because I think that's really helpful to start to put things into perspective. Because when we're in this time lack bubble, we think we don't have any. It's kind of hard because we kind of dig ourselves in a hole. So now it's time to get ourselves out of it. So for all of us that are here, you are working more than 40 hours. So the calculations that I'm going to give you are for someone who works 50 hours a week. Let's just do around 50, okay? So when we calculate this in a week, that is where this 168 hours comes from. So you have 168 hours, and let's pretend you're actually getting 8 hours of sleep. You're likely not, but let's just say, because we're going to overestimate on some of these to really show you how much time you have, right? So if you slept 8 hours a night for all week, then you subtract that and you have 62 hours left of the week. So we'll call it free time that you're not sleeping and you're not working. So you have 62 hours. That is, if we want to put a percentage on that, that is 37% of your week free. I'm just using air quotes because, yeah. So you have 37% of your week is not being utilized by sleeping or working. So my question then is, where is your time going? So if we are in this time lack of supply of this time, where is it going? So you have to get really honest with yourself and, what you're thinking about your time and what's actually happening in real life, in your life. Where is all your time going? So what's eating it up? What is it? Are you driving around a lot? Are you spending, obviously, time with your family? Like, where is your time going? So this is where reviewing your analytics becomes key. So what I mean by that, and I mentioned in previous videos, that is your calendar. Because your calendar is going to tell you everything. So you need to review your analytics to figure out, where is my time going? If I have 37%, remember that's pretty generous, right? 37% of my week is free. Where is it going? That's outside of work. So where is the rest of this time going? Well, all this time that you could be, doing things for yourself, or, working on projects for your business, or to put together a new offer, or to market, or whatever. And then what's actually eating up your time? Where is the time going? So that's where you have to review your analytics and get really crystal clear on what's happening. So reviewing your analytics is after the fact, right? So that is what's already happened. So if you really want to then execute and be more proactive, you got to do it in real time. You really got to look at where your time is going in real time, because you may find when you review your analytics, you may have things on your calendar that actually didn't get done. And I go through a whole process in my program, the Private Practice Burnout Solution, where we do live workshops like this to actually review your analytics and to plan the next 90-day increment to get things done, to bring those dreams down to reality and get them done. So you review your analytics and actually calculate. And there is a way to do this, to actually calculate the percentages of what's getting done and what's not getting done. And now, one thing that really helped put things in perspective when it comes to my relationship with time and my time is spent in my business is the 80-20 rule. And for those of you that are not familiar with it, I'm going to repeat it because it really puts things into perspective. So the 80-20 rule is this: 80% of your success comes from 20% of your actions. I will say that again. 80% of your success comes from 20% of your actions. So you have to ask yourself, if that is true, that means that those are needle moving tasks. So am I, when I'm looking at my 37% of free time, am I using that on needle moving tasks? Because if 80% of my success comes from 20% of my actions, and I'm not seeing the results that I am looking for, I'm not getting the ROI on what it is that I'm looking for, and I feel like I am doing all the things. And that's when you really have to reassess, review your analytics, because the calculations don't lie. You do have that time. So again, being radically honest with yourself and saying, where is my time going? Okay? Because you will be surprised, or maybe not so much, at what's happening versus what you think is happening and what's actually happening as far as where your time is being spent. So as I've mentioned in previous videos and a lot in my Fair Chronicles podcast, is you need to shift your focus, right? So we keep focusing on not having enough time and we're just so behind and all these things. What are you going to see? Confirmation bias of you're going to have less time and you're not going to get the things that you want to get done. So you shift your focus and attention and your energy, because we're talking about your calendar too, on having that balanced calendar. So you create, revamp, recreate, start over, whatever you need to do to really build out that balanced calendar that we've been talking about, that has both the work, the busy, the action, but also includes the rest, the recovery. You have to have a balance of both, and you need to have time for you. So that is where that becomes key, and you shift your focus and attention. And when you build that balanced calendar, you're building those blocks and you're strategically placing them in your calendar where you're at your peak performance and so on and so forth. Because again, you are going to get more done in less time. Because again, remember, you'll have at least 37% of this time to schedule, do as you please within your balanced calendar. And that's assuming you're working 50 hours a week, give or take, and getting 8 hours of sleep. So you can adjust the calculations accordingly to what's really happening in your life. So the last thing, so when I say let's talk about time, is time is an acronym because I love me some acronyms. So Time is something that I talk about again in my private practice burnout solution. And it is a framework that I build a lot of the planning around. And so I'm going to give you a high level overview of what that looks like to kind of help paint the picture and make things make sense for you. So the T is for track and trim. So again, when we're looking at and creating your balanced calendar, that's what is happening right now, right? So where are the energy or the time leaks? Where are the time sucks? What's going on in that calendar? Where are these gaps? Where is like time being lost in your calendar, whether that's, distractions, doom scrolling, whatever it is, let's be honest with ourselves, what's actually happening. And we're going to track it, right? And we're going to get rid of it, right? It's not serving you. So then we go into I, which is intentionally prioritize. And we've talked about this in a few different ways in different videos, but you have to prioritize, because if you don't prioritize, everything is important. And I mean, maybe everything is important, but you still need to prioritize so you know what to tackle first and when, right? But then it's intentionality. So when we look at that again is your non-negotiables. And like I will always say, those go in your calendar first when it comes to planning, right? So then it's also aligning with your energy. So your non-negotiables and aligning with your energy, how your energy ebbs and flows day to day. And even for us women, cycle to cycle. That is really key to be aware and schedule accordingly for those. So then M is map and block, which is designing the schedule with time blocks and or categories. Some people don't do the categories. I tend to do a mix of both. But that's where the work blocks come in. And in my program, I talk more about how to do that. And when we're blending similar tasks together, this is also key for really getting more done in less time. And then E is evolve and execute, or execute and evolve, doesn't matter. It's still ease. So that is where you have that kind of a weekly recurring meeting with yourself. That is your CEO planning meeting, because you are the CEO of your business and your life. So you should be regularly meeting with yourself, ideally at the same time, same day, every week. And then that is where we're reviewing analytics. And there's a whole process that I go through in my program about this too, and how you can calculate. And that's, the weekly check-ins, there's daily check-ins with yourself, there's all kinds of things. And you will refine as you go, and you will evolve as you go, because things will change in your life, will change in your business. And of course, you adjust accordingly. So all of these things, when we shift our relationship with time and we calculate, we review the analytics, and we really understand the 80-20 rule, it helps to put things in perspective, and we start evolving our relationship with time. That is how you collapse time. And it puts things into focus. It changes your perspective. And that is the first shift, is awareness, and then that perspective shift. Because once you are aware that a lot of the things that may be happening are not happening, you have to take responsibility for that, because that means it's coming from you. The time hasn't changed. Your relationship and what you're doing with your time needs to change in order to exponentially grow and collapse time. So that needs to shift, that first and foremost. And then, because again, I have the same amount of time as you do. So, and we don't want to be comparing to other people, but we all have the same amount of time. But what we choose to do with that time is completely up to you, right? So use it to your benefit. And this is how you can make time work for you. And that's what's going to make all the difference. So get clear on what you prioritize and check your ego at the door. Let's be honest. Check it at the door. The past is the past. We're talking about now and moving forward. So this is the key components to how you can make anything possible. So I really hope that you found this helpful. If you want to dive in further, I invite you to check out my 2-minute Are You the Bottleneck quiz to find out who or what is slowing down your progress. It would mean the world to me if you like, comment, share, subscribe, all the things to help this video and this content reach more people that this would benefit. And I will see you in the next one.